Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. My name is Arlene Manoharan. I am a fellow at the Centre for Child and the Law at the National Law School of India University, Bangalore. Today we are going to be dealing with the Juvenile Justice Act 2015, and this module is part 3 of the 3 modules that are dealing with this subject. What are the learning objectives for this module? They are 1. To gain an overview of the Juvenile Justice Act 2015 with specific regard to children in conflict with law, which includes children alleged to be in conflict with law and children found to be in conflict with law. Second, to enable an understanding of why there is a need for a separate juvenile justice system distinct from the adult criminal justice system. Third, to enable an understanding of how children alleged to be in conflict with law are treated and how children found to be in conflict with law are treated. To provide an understanding of the institutional and non-institutional rehabilitative provisions available for children alleged and found to be in conflict with law. This module, as I said, is a third of 3 related modules that provide a brief overview of the Juvenile Justice Act 2015, which came into force on the 15th of January 2015. It provides an overview of provisions that apply to children in conflict with law coming under the purview of the Act. The JJ Act 2015 provides the legal framework for how children in need of care and protection by the state, including child victims of crime in need of such care and protection, and children alleged and found to be in conflict with law, should be dealt with by the state. The Ministry of Women and Child Development notified the Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Model Rules 2016 to carry out the purposes of the Act on 21st of September 2016. The module, however, does not include an overview of these model rules as it is beyond the scope of the scheme. Why should we have a separate juvenile justice system for children in conflict with law? Juvenile justice is founded on an approach that treats children in conflict with law appropriately, not leniently. One of the fundamental principles in juvenile justice is the principle of proportionality, which involves dealing with a child alleged to be in conflict with law in a manner that takes into account his basic needs as well as needs arising from his circumstances, while dealing with him in accordance with his developmental stage and the gravity of the offense. The juvenile justice system should encourage a process of behavioral change by helping the child to feel accountable for his or her actions and to understand the consequences they have on others. It therefore gives special importance to rehabilitation and constructive community-based solutions, fostering integration rather than alienation. Children have been accorded special protection under Article 15, Subclause 3 of the Constitution. The General Comment number 10 on Children's Rights in Juvenile Justice, prepared by the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child, states that children differ from adults in their physical and psychological development and their emotional and educational needs. Such differences constitute the basis for the lesser culpability of children in conflict with law. These and other differences are the reasons for a separate juvenile justice system and require a different treatment for children. The protection of the best interests of the child means, for instance, that the traditional objectives of criminal justice, such as repression or retribution, must give way to rehabilitation and restorative justice objectives in dealing with child offenders. This can be in concert with attention to effective public safety. Children are not as culpable as adults and are not competent to stand trial in an adult court, which is why the Multidisciplinary Juvenile Justice Board provided for under the Juvenile Justice Act 2015 is best suited to conduct psychosocial legal inquiries and not only adjudicate on the matter of guilt, but also discern what rehabilitative measures would best suit the individual needs of the child or adolescent. The JJ Act 2015 is the overriding law in all matters concerning children in conflict with law, including apprehension, detention, prosecution, penalty or imprisonment, rehabilitation and social reintegration of such children. This means that in principle, if a child who is charged with the heinous offence of selling prohibited arms and ammunition under the Arms Act 1959 can only be dealt with under this Act, whereas an adult charged with the same offence will be tried in the concerned court in the adult criminal justice system. The Juvenile Justice Act 2015 has, however, incorporated the transfer system explained in detail later in this module. So, though in principle all children in conflict with law are to be dealt with under the JJ Act 2015, children who are transferred to the adult criminal justice system for trial as an adult could, on certain conditions, be dealt with as any other adult would. Let's talk a little bit about children in conflict with law, the Juvenile Justice Board and the Children's Court. The Act classifies offences into petty, serious and heinous offences. Petty offences include offences for which the maximum punishment under the Indian Penal Code or any other law for the time being in force is imprisonment up to 3 years. Serious offences are those for which the punishment is imprisonment between 3 to 7 years. And heinous offences includes the offences for which the minimum punishment, I reiterate, the minimum punishment under the Indian Penal Code or any other law for the time being in force is imprisonment for 7 years or more. Children are treated differently based on the kind of offence they are alleged to have committed. The Juvenile Justice Board is a multidisciplinary body consisting of a principal magistrate and 2 social work members, vested with the power of a judicial magistrate of the first class. And this board has the exclusive power to deal with all proceedings related to children in conflict with law and to adjudicate and dispose cases as per the procedures for inquiry. The Children's Court means a court established under the Commissions for Protection of Child Rights Act 2005 or a special court under the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012 wherever existing. And where such courts have not been designated, the Court of Sessions having jurisdiction to try offences under the Act. This court was originally specifically designed to try offences against children, I reiterate, against children, and not offences by them. However, now the child aged 16 to 18 years alleged to have committed a heinous crime can now be transferred by the Juvenile Justice Board to this Children's Court to be tried as an adult. The Juvenile Justice Board and the Children's Courts are required to conduct the proceedings in a child-friendly manner, irrespective of how serious the crime is. Child-friendly means any behavior, conduct, practice, process, attitude, environment or treatment that is humane, considerate and in the best interest of the child. The Act is silent on the maximum duration for which a child can be detained in an observation home pending inquiry by the Juvenile Justice Board. It, however, specifies that inquiry should be completed within 4 months and can be extended by a period of 2 months, implying that a child in conflict with law cannot be detained in the observation home beyond 6 months. Inquiries into serious and heinous offences can, however, be further extended if permission is granted by the Chief Judicial Magistrate or the Chief Metropolitan Magistrate for reasons to be recorded in writing. The period for which a child allegedly involved in a serious or heinous offence can be kept in an observation home is thus not definite. A child who has committed an offence and has been dealt with under the Juvenile Justice Act will not suffer disqualifications attached to conviction for the offence. Vital to enable the child to reintegrate into the community with dignity. Let me explain this further. For example, a child will not have to disclose the conviction while applying for admission into a college, for a passport, or while submitting a job application. However, a child who is above 16 years and found to be in conflict with law by the Children's Court for a heinous offence, after trial as an adult, will not enjoy this protection. A person alleged to have committed an offence can claim that he was a child below the age of 18 years at the time of allegedly committing that offence, and this claim can be made at any stage of the legal proceeding and before any court. It can even be raised after the case has been finally disposed and even after the person has ceased to be a child. For example, such a claim can be raised in appeal before the Supreme Court even if it had not been raised at any stage before the trial court or the High Court. Let's talk more about children alleged and found to have committed petty crime. Children alleged to have committed petty crime are to be dealt with only by the Juvenile Justice Board, who is required to hear and dispose cases of petty offences by following summary proceedings as per the procedure prescribed under the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. If the inquiry for petty offences remains inconclusive, even after 6 months, 4 months of the stipulated period plus 2 months of the extended period, the proceedings will stand terminated. For example, if a child is alleged to have committed theft, a petty crime, but the police delay the investigation and do not submit the charge sheet in a timely manner, preventing the Juvenile Justice Board from conducting the inquiry in a timely manner, that is within the 6-month period from the date of the alleged commission of the crime, the case can be automatically be closed and the child declared as innocent. Let's talk about children alleged and found to have committed serious crime. The Juvenile Justice Board is required to hear and dispose cases of serious offences by following the procedure for trial in summons cases under the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. Children alleged to have committed serious crime are to be dealt with only by the Juvenile Justice Board. Let's now talk about children alleged and found to have committed heinous crime. The Juvenile Justice Board is required to undertake what is called a preliminary assessment of a child alleged to be in conflict with law within a period of 3 months from the date of first production of the child before the JJB. In cases where 1. The child has completed or is above the age of 16 years and is below 18 years, and 2. The nature of the offence alleged is heinous. The purpose of this assessment is to enable the Juvenile Justice Board to decide whether the case should be dealt with and disposed of by the Juvenile Justice Board, who treats the child as a child, or whether it should transfer the child to the Children's Court for trial of the child as an adult. The assessment consists of 4 components: mental capacity of the child to commit the offences alleged, physical capacity of the child to commit the offence alleged, the child's ability to understand the consequences of the offence, and lastly, the circumstances in which the child allegedly committed the offence. The Juvenile Justice Board can take the assistance of experienced psychologists or psychosocial experts or other experts for this preliminary assessment. Upon the conclusion of the assessment, the Juvenile Justice Board can pass either of the 2 following orders and decide to hear and dispose the matter and follow the procedure for trial in summons case, or transfer the child to the Children's Court, as it is of the opinion that the child should be tried as an adult. After the receipt of preliminary assessment from the Juvenile Justice Board, the Children's Court may decide that 1. There is a need for trial of the child as an adult as per the provisions of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, and pass appropriate orders considering the special needs of the child, the tenets of fair trial, and maintaining a child-friendly atmosphere, passing a sentence against the child as though the child was like any other adult in the criminal justice system. However, irrespective of the penalties that may be passed against adults, the Children's Court cannot impose death penalty or sentence the child to life imprisonment without the possibility of release for any offence. 2. The Children's Court may decide that there is no need for trial of the child as an adult and may actually then conduct an inquiry, sitting as though it was a juvenile justice board, and pass appropriate orders in accordance with the provisions of Section 18 of the Act. A child found to be in conflict with law by the Children's Court after trial as an adult cannot be placed in a jail immediately. The child will have to be sent to a place of safety till he attains the age of 21 years, at which point the Children's Court will have to order a follow-up by the probation officer, the District Child Protection Unit, or a social worker, or even by itself, to evaluate if the child has undergone reformative changes and if the child can be a contributing member of the society. The Children's Court should also interact with the child to assess whether the child has undergone reformative changes and if the child can be a contributing member of society. The progress records of the child and evaluation of relevant experts should be taken into consideration, and based on this, it could decide whether the child should be released back into the community or whether he should complete the remainder of the sentence in jail. For example, if a child aged 16.5 years called Deepak is alleged to have committed an acid attack against someone resulting in deformity to that person, which would be a heinous offence under the Indian Penal Code and attracts a punishment of a minimum of 10 years imprisonment, which can even extend up to life imprisonment, then the Juvenile Justice Board has to conduct a preliminary assessment after determining Deepak's actual age. If the findings of the assessment form the basis of an order of the Juvenile Justice Board that Deepak should be treated as a child, for example, because he is found to have not been able to understand that these were the consequences of that alleged offence at the time of that committing that offence, then the Juvenile Justice Board can proceed to conduct the inquiry and pass rehabilitative orders under Section 18 treating Deepak as a child. However, if the board decides that the findings are such that Deepak should indeed be treated as an adult, then it can pass an order to transfer him to the Children's Court. The Children's Court should decide to treat Deepak as a child and could pass orders just as a JJB would, or it could decide to try him as any other adult, and if it finds him to be guilty of the said offence, then it could sentence him for any period ranging from 10 years to life imprisonment as provided for under the ICP for this offence. If the Children's Court decides to sentence Deepak to, say, 15 years in jail, he would then have to stay in the place of safety till he reaches 21 years of age, at which point the Children's Court could then conduct an evaluation to assess whether he is reformed and can be a contributing member of society. If the court decides that Deepak has reformed, it can pass an order to release him back into the community, while directing that he be monitored till the completion of the 15-year sentence. If, however, the Children's Court finds that he has not reformed and cannot be a contributing member of society, it can direct that Deepak be transferred from the place of safety to jail for the remainder of the sentence. What are the orders or sentences that can and cannot be passed for children in conflict with law? Orders that can be passed by a Juvenile Justice Board for a child in conflict with law under Section 18(1) of the Act for a child who is found to have committed a petty offence or serious offence, or a child below 16 years if found to have committed a heinous offence, or a child above 16 years and below 18 years is not transferred to the Children's Court and is found by the Juvenile Justice Board to have committed a heinous offence, are as given in the list below. Admonition: It can allow the child to go home after advice or admonition by following appropriate inquiry and counseling to the child and to the parents or the guardian. Counseling. It can direct the child to participate in group counseling and similar activities. Community service. It can order the child to perform community service under the supervision of an organization or institution or a specified person, persons or group of persons identified by the Juvenile Justice Board. Fine. It can order the child or the child's parents or guardians to pay a fine. However, in the case the child is working, the Juvenile Justice Board should ensure that the provisions of any labor law for the time being in force are not violated. Probation and release under care of parent or guardian or fit person. It can direct the child to be released on probation of good conduct and placed under the care of any parent, guardian or fit person on such parent, guardian or fit person executing a bond with or without surety, as the JJB may require, for the good behavior and the child's well-being for any period not exceeding 3 years. Probation and release under care and supervision of the facility. It can direct the child to be released on probation of good conduct and placed under the care and supervision of any fit facility for ensuring the good behavior and child's well-being for any period not exceeding 3 years. Special home. It can direct the child to be sent to a special home for a period not exceeding 3 years for providing reformative services including education, skill development, counseling, behavior modification, therapy and psychiatric support during the period of stay in the special home. However, if the conduct and behavior of the child has been such that it would not be in the child's interest or in the interest of other children housed in the special home, the board can send the child to the place of safety. The JJ Act 2015, however, does not give the Juvenile Justice Board the discretion to reduce the period of stay in the special home with reasons in writing that was earlier recognized under the Juvenile Justice Act 2000. Additionally, the Juvenile Justice Board could also pass orders to require the child to do any one or more of the following: attend school, attend a vocational training center, attend a therapeutic center, undergo a de-addiction program, prohibit the child from visiting, frequenting or appearing at a specified place. The Children's Court is also empowered to pass the above orders if it decides to treat the child alleged to be in conflict with law who is above 16 years and below 18 years as a child and not as an adult, and such child is found to have committed the heinous crime alleged. On the other hand, if the Children's Court decides to treat a child as an adult, it will have to try the case as an adult and pass a sentence as it would while trying any other adult above 18 years of age. However, as mentioned earlier, neither the Juvenile Justice Board nor the Children's Court can impose death penalty or sentence the child to life imprisonment without the possibility of release for any offense, irrespective of its gravity. Let's now talk about child care institutions for children in conflict with law. The Juvenile Justice Act 2015 provides for the establishment of 3 kinds of child care institutions for children in conflict with law. These are as follows. Observation homes. This is a home which is a child care institution established for the temporary reception, care and rehabilitation of any child alleged to be in conflict with law during the pendency of an inquiry. Special home. This home is a home for children in conflict with law, providing rehabilitative services to children who are found to have committed an offense and ordered to be sent to such a child care institution by the Juvenile Justice Board or the Children's Court. The third institution is the place of safety, which is any place or institution not being a police lockup or jail. And this institution has to be established separately or attached to an observation home or a special home, as the case may be. the person in charge of which is willing to receive and take care of the children alleged or found to be in conflict with law by an order of the board or the children's court, both during inquiry and ongoing rehabilitation after having been found guilty for a period and purpose as specified in the order. The observation home and special homes are to be established and maintained by the state government either by itself or through a voluntary or non-governmental organization. The state government is responsible for establishing and maintaining the places of safety. Now let's talk about non-institutional rehabilitative services for children in conflict with law. As regards rehabilitation and social integration, these processes are to be undertaken for all children under the Act based on the individual care plan prepared for the child, and preferably through family-based care, such as by restoration to the family or the guardian, or with or without supervision, or sponsorship, or adoption, or foster care. Sponsorship is the provision of supplementary support, financial or otherwise, to the families to meet the medical, educational and developmental needs of the child. State governments have been empowered to frame rules for the purpose of undertaking the various programs of sponsorship for children, such as individual to individual sponsorship, group sponsorship or community sponsorship, and to determine the duration of sponsorship. The sponsorship program may provide supplementary support to families, to special homes, to meet medical, nutritional, educational and other needs of the children with a view to improving their quality of life. Aftercare means making provision of support, financial or otherwise, to persons who have completed the age of 18 years but have not completed the age of 21 and have left any childcare institution to join the mainstream of society. There are some differences in what the law provides for in terms of rehabilitation and social reintegration of children in need of care and protection, and for children in conflict with law. Though it does provide for foster care as a non-institutional rehabilitation option, this service is not available for children in conflict with law. However, if a child in conflict with law at the time of final orders by the Juvenile Justice Board is found innocent of the charges against him and is found to be suitable for adoption, he will have to be transferred to the Child Welfare Committee, which will have to conduct an inquiry to determine whether or not he or she is legally free for adoption, and then take the necessary steps. Finally, let's talk about appeals, amendments and revision procedures for children in conflict with law. Appeals from orders of the Juvenile Justice Board can be made to the Children's Court within 30 days of the Juvenile Justice Board order, while that passed after the preliminary assessment will lie before the Sessions Court. No appeal is permitted, however, for any order of acquittal made by the Juvenile Justice Board in respect of a child alleged to have committed a petty or a serious offence. On the other hand, if a child aged 16 to 18 years alleged to have committed a heinous offence is found to be innocent, an appeal can be filed on this order. For example, while the acquittal order of a 15-year-old boy alleged to have committed rape, a heinous offence, cannot be challenged, the acquittal of a 16-year-old boy for the very same offence can indeed be appealed. In this module, you have been introduced to the juvenile justice system for children in conflict with law and why there is a separate system to deal with children who commit crime and adults who commit crime. You have been made aware of the difference between petty, serious and heinous crime, and how children who allegedly commit such crimes are treated under the Juvenile Justice Act 2015, the orders that can be passed for them, the childcare institutions that are to be established for them, and the procedures for appeals, revisions and amendment of these orders. For more information, you may choose to watch the videos and look at the reference material that has been provided along with this module. Thank you.